Okay. This seems very interesting. I think we reacted to another video of his, but it was a different category. This one is called Mysteries of the Internet by Nick Crowley. Let's check it out, see what we got.
It's the 22nd of November, 2019. A Ring doorbell begins recording as a young girl approaches a home in the Harriet Creek Ranch neighborhood of Texas. It's pitch black out, and the girl is seen all alone, which by itself is strange enough, but it's moments later that this footage becomes truly concerning.
Help, please.
Oh, shit. That's probably the scariest thing you'll ever see. Say you're looking at your Ring camera, middle of the night, pitch black outside, see a little young girl knocking on the door, help, please. It's like, what do you do? Like, is this a setup? Are they trying to, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a tough decision from that point when you see that somebody may be trying to kill her. The killer, like, as soon as you try to help her, the killer might come and kill both of y'all, everybody. You know what I'm saying? That shit is very scary. Nobody knows that. Nobody would know that, you know, the feeling of that shit until it actually happens to them. In fact, this one kid that lives where we're just chilling in the house, and out of nowhere, we hear the door handle turn. Somebody's trying to like come in. So you already know my immediate reaction is I grab my strap. And they kept doing it, knocking on the door. All I hear was, I'm not even bullshitting you. That's exactly what we heard at the door. That's what we heard. And we were like, what the fuck? So we have a sliding glass door. We live on the first floor. I open the sliding glass door. I have my, had my shit in my hand. But it wasn't at nighttime. It wasn't at night. It was during the day. I had my strap to walk around because I'm able to walk around and see the front door. I go around and it's a little kid around that age. And apparently he was confused. And I was just like, man, he was about to get like popped. You know what I'm saying? But, luckily it wasn't at nighttime because who knows? I don't know what might have happened, but it isn't the same thing. But, I'm just trying to throw an example out there. Kid was definitely confused because he probably thought that's where he lived. That's just my natural reaction because I don't trust shit around here. I don't trust shit, okay? I don't trust nothing. This situation, I don't know either. I don't know either. It's just middle of the night, little girl saying, help, help. Kind of crazy.
Please help.
She was begging for help, pounding her hand against the door, all the while continuously turning her head around, as if she was expecting someone to come up behind her. The footage then comes to an abrupt end.
What?
Only to start again seconds later. But this entire time, no one answers that door. The wait was just too unbearable for the child as she then took off.
Damn.
Yelling incoherently in the street before running out of view of the camera. Frustratingly, this footage was only viewed by the homeowner well after the fact, and reports seem to indicate that this was a property that they rented out rather than lived in, with it being unoccupied on that night. But after seeing the video, the homeowner immediately contacted law enforcement and shared the video online in the hopes that more information would come forward, as it seems that neither they nor the police had any idea who this child was or why she needed help. But since these clips were first shared, these questions have still yet to be answered, at least publicly, as there have been no updates from law enforcement. Along with this, there have been no accounts from neighbors about the incident or any footage from other homes in the neighborhood, perhaps implying that this was her one and only stop of the night. It's like after this footage, this girl dropped off the face of the earth, with this entire situation being a mystery to this day, leaving us with only theories. The first and most popular theory is that this girl was an escaped victim of kidnapping, or perhaps an abusive household, and had run to the closest home to ask for help. We've seen situations like this many times before, with the most popular example at the moment being the case of Ruby Franke, whose son escaped their house and ran to their neighbor for help.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
Taking me to the nearest police station. Well, actually, just
This certainly falls in line with this girl's behavior, as she was clearly scared about someone or something following her, hence why she kept looking back. And given that there have been no
Listen, I watched that video, the one was just talking about. That's a perfect example. Like I said, I don't trust nothing. You can't put shit past nobody. You never know what kind of evil shit that these people are doing. It may seem all sunshine and rainbows when you see them. Nice positive attitude, no signs of weakness, no signs of anything. And they could be doing shit like that at their home. Just terrorizing and torturing their children. Crazy. So when you hear people that's like kind of already like airing their business out for everybody to know, that's kind of like, okay, all right. When I definitely see people like letting people that they don't know their business online, I'd be like, why the hell are they telling them all this shit? Like, what? Those people are probably the sanest people on earth. The ones that don't say anything at all are most likely the most dangerous. They might be doing some crazy shit. You never know, man. It's crazy out here.
no updates to this case, and that seemingly no one else saw her that night. It would indicate that whoever she was running from had recaptured her shortly after. And what makes this theory even more horrifying is that many online users believe that this girl isn't the only person shown in this footage.
When the light goes off, and for some reason, it came back on, somebody was definitely there, for sure. Because that's a sensor light. It only turns on when somebody's there. This is scary. This is a scary video right here, man.
Help, please.
As in the background, some can see what appears to be movement behind the bush, and potentially even a figure.
Man, the video is too distorted.
Please,
Yeah, I see something.
And this just so happens to be the direction that this girl is looking in every time she turns back, almost like she knew someone was hiding there. Which brings us to our second theory, that this entire thing was a setup. The belief here is that
Definitely
this
looks like
girl was
that.
coerced into going up to a stranger's home to beg for help, so that when this unsuspecting homeowner would open their door, those people who made the girl do this would then rush into the home and rob the person. This could explain why
Like I was saying earlier, it might be a damn setup for somebody to rob you. Like it doesn't make any sense, man. It's weird. Doesn't matter what fucking race they are. You know what I'm saying? White, black, Spanish, Asian. It's kind of crazy. That's why I'm saying that's a tough decision to make. So all I gotta say is just like be prepared. Me in this situation, I don't know. I'm not saying I gotta prepare for this, but it's like I wouldn't know. I would just, I don't know. You let me know. Let me know what you would do. This is a crazy situation, man.
she was looking at that bush so frequently, as that's where this person or these persons would have been hiding, and she was looking to them for guidance, perhaps unprepared for the homeowner not to open their door. Both of these theories are disturbing in their own right, and both clearly indicate that this girl is in need of help, regardless of what the situation is. But still, there's been no confirmation as to what ever happened to this child, even despite the public interest. One of the biggest talking points online came from some theorizing that this girl might be Serenity Denard, a then 9-year-old girl who had gone missing in February of 2019 from a children's facility in South Dakota, who looked eerily similar to the child shown in this video. But in my research, I was able to find a Facebook post from one of Serenity's mothers, who shared that they were in fact aware
One
of the
of her
video,
mothers.
and that they had actually contacted law enforcement about it. And in her post, she claims that investigators told her that the girl had been identified at some point, and that she had lived in that neighborhood, with there being no further elaboration as to why she was asking for help. This is quite literally one of the only updates I was able to find, but unfortunately it was one that I wasn't able to confirm, and it also fails to explain what exactly happened to this girl, leaving this footage and this entire scenario as one of the many
Oh my
mysteries
God,
of the
that's
internet.
So like,
It started with a police chase. An officer parked alongside a highway in North Amsterdam had witnessed a black Mercedes speeding down the road and was now desperately trying to keep up with it. But the effort was to no avail, as the Mercedes would soon disappear from the officer's view. And when it would come back into view minutes later, it wasn't moving. It was instead left abandoned on the side of the road, the driver's side door hanging wide open, and the driver himself being nowhere to be seen, leaving that officer alone with the suspect's car, but no suspect. However, the vehicle hadn't been left entirely empty, As in the driver's rush to flee the scene, he had accidentally left his cell phone behind, and so the contents of this phone would be searched, which quickly led to the discovery of this driver's identity. But for investigators, there was a far more pressing finding on that device. A finding in the form of a minute-long video stored on the man's camera.
Yeah, like, what is he, a fucking spy, or just like one of them motherfuckers that, a hitman? Amsterdam? Europe? Gotta be a hitman.
That indicated that this driver may have been involved in a crime far worse than just speeding. The footage was taken inside a different vehicle and showed an unseen driver holding up his cell phone alongside another man in the passenger seat. The camera was focused on a car in front of them, with both men seeming intent on catching up with it, as in the moments before this recording started, something had happened between them, which the men inside this car felt they had to get revenge for.
Voor ons net hebben brutaliteit met ons gemaakt. Deze mannen voor ons hebben net de brutaliteit. Ze gaan hier.
They referred to this unseen incident as an act of brutality by a group of men in this other vehicle, and by the looks of it, it's likely that this car had simply cut them off, as there was a freshly closed lane in the stretch of road at the time, which created an unexpected merge. And this is most likely what this group inside this separate car thought too, as they were showing no signs of road rage, and were instead just casually driving with the flow of traffic. However, it's clear that the men behind the camera felt differently, as in their minds, what this other driver had done to them was so awful that it was worthy of only one punishment: death.
Gauw ze moeten boeten. Ja toch? Oké. Ze hebben net de brutaliteit met ons uitgehaald. Deze kan niet.
And so, this duo inched their vehicle closer and closer to this anonymous car, while continuing their rambling about this act of brutality. And when they finally positioned themselves next to the vehicle, the man in the passenger seat brandished a pistol and pointed it directly at the driver of this vehicle. The footage from here is incredibly shaky, and the window had been rolled down, causing the audio to peak and become distorted and indecipherable. Because of this, it's hard to say for sure what happens next, but it appears that the man holding the gun attempts to fire the weapon before pulling it back into the car, cocking the revolver once more, and firing again.
But they obviously are in Europe or some shit, wherever the hell they are. I don't think they even, like, it's even legal to have firearms in some countries. Amsterdam, I am not sure. I don't think it's even legal there because some countries don't allow that shit at all. So they can get away with that. Not over here. You come pulling out a pistol, showing me your pistol because it's from a slight little cutoff, aiming it at me. Just know, just know you getting them shots. I don't give a damn if you don't shoot that gun. You point a gun at me, I'm busting your ass, like, straight up. You're getting popped. Like, that car, I'm emptying the clip. There's no way you're gonna just drive on by like, oh, yeah, I pointed the gun at him. Nah, not even just me. You point that shit at anybody else that has one in their car, you're getting lit up, I promise you. So these motherfuckers are obviously like in the gang or something because act of brutality, that definitely sounds like some gang shit, so.
To which both men erupt with laughter and begin celebrating before the recording stops. Based on the footage, it's unclear what happened to the driver of this vehicle or the other occupants, and finding this information became priority one for law enforcement.
Yeah,
in their research, they determined that this video was shot on May 12, 2014, at around 9:40 p.m., 1 full month before they had stumbled upon it, and it had been taken on the A1 highway near entrance 2101. And yet, when they checked their files to match this information with any of their cases, they realized that there was no record of this incident. This crime had never so much as been reported, despite it seeming to depict a shooting in the middle of a busy highway. To make matters more confusing, police were able to track down the men who took this video and carried out the actual attack, and yet neither of them claimed to know what happened to the people that they shot at, and both refused to elaborate any further, leaving investigators in a strange position. They had undeniable proof of a crime, one that at the very least was attempted murder, and they also had their suspects. They just didn't have any victims. And so they studied the footage even more, which is when they made a disturbing revelation about these victims. Throughout the video, the perpetrators refer to the people within this car as a group of men. And while the footage we have today has the occupants' faces blurred, they were able to conclude that the driver was in fact a man. However, they discovered that the passenger next to him is clearly a woman wearing a headscarf. And most shocking of all, in the back seat was what appeared to be a child, meaning that they had been shooting at what, in all likelihood, was a family.
I can't see nothing. It's
Police
so
released this
distorted.
video to the public later that year under the name Amsterdam Sheet Incident Ringway A10, or Amsterdam Shooting Incident on Ring Road A10, where they revealed this footage but disguised the voices and faces of the perpetrators for unknown reasons. And in releasing this, they asked the public to come forward with any information that could help identify this family. They asked for witnesses on the scene, car repair shops that may have fixed a car with bullet holes, any hospitals that had shooting victims on or around that day, and most importantly, they asked for the family inside this car to come forward. So without their testimony, convicting these men was nearly impossible, as it wasn't fully clear what crime they'd even committed. That was 11 years ago, and to this day, no one has come forward,
Damn.
leaving us with only theories. The first theory is that the people shot at in this footage may have been undocumented immigrants, or perhaps one of them had a warrant out for their arrest, meaning that if they were to report this crime, or if they were to have gone to the hospital with a bullet wound, then police would have certainly got involved, and in turn they would have gotten in trouble as well, essentially forcing them to stay quiet as saying anything would put their freedom in jeopardy. Another theory is that the shots may have simply missed the vehicle, and the driver decided not to report it, with some believing that this whole situation was no big deal. But to me, this doesn't seem like something that would be so easily brushed off, especially because a child is involved, though it is possible that perhaps this family was afraid to report the crime, as they clearly knew how dangerous these men were, and feared that reporting this crime would only further put a target on their backs. And finally, there's the theory that this weapon never fired at all. This is where the audio peaking becomes a major factor, as it's extreme.
I didn't hear anything. Like, nothing came from the gun. It looked like he was just showing it, and the car was still driving. He had it pointed at him. Plenty of time to react, even hit the brakes hard. Most people is going to hit the brakes hard, you know what I'm saying, to try to avoid him. But the car was still moving. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure you saw it too.
Extremely difficult to make out the sound of gunshots, as the gun was literally outside of the vehicle when it was seemingly being fired. But it is worth noting that investigators working the case seemed confident that the weapon fired at least once, and I also personally hear a distinct popping sound at the end.
Maybe shot once.
But it's hard
But
to
at the
say for
ground.
sure. And it also is possible that this group was using blanks, with this all being an attempt to trick the other driver into thinking that he was in danger. But even with these theories, we still have no idea the fate that befell this family, and it's clear that they have no desire to come forward, for reasons we just don't know. Which leaves the Amsterdam shooting video an internet mystery that may never be solved. Urgent, I need help, please. We are from BSAS West Zone, Castelar, San Juan neighborhood. Her name is Emma Rosario Kalk, who's been missing since Friday, June 12th. If you saw her, please call. Any information will be appreciated. This post was made to the subreddit r/Argentina on June 16th, 2020 by a user named u/NaramNaram, who asked for the public's help in finding a missing woman named Emma Kalk. And in the comments, he would offer more context, saying, "She went out to buy something and never came back. She was last seen here in the neighborhood. Sanchez and Pavan is the area where she went to buy something. She was dressed in the clothes that she's seen in the photo. She was carrying her wallet with her ID and a cell phone." Quickly, the post was inundated with concerned citizens wanting to help in the matter, with the gravity of the situation being made even greater, as earlier that day, Naram had made a similar post, which revealed that Emma Kalk was actually his mother. This revelation only made the post more important, as people left comments offering support and encouragement, with many even providing advice on how he could potentially track her down, to which Naram seemed genuinely grateful. Across the entire internet, this seems to be the first post ever made on Emma's disappearance, but it would be far from the last, as people spread this information far and wide almost immediately after Naram's post, which was also followed by several local news reports, which proved that Emma was in fact a real person and was in fact missing, with these articles mentioning something that her son had not, that she was feared to have been taken. The only thing we know for sure is that she went
Yeah.
into her house, left her bike, and for some reason went out but did not come back in. Apparently, she did not leave on purpose, and that is what worries us the most. Things were clearly very concerning, and the tension of the situation only increased as a day passed. And then too, with Naram vowing to keep everyone updated on the status of the search. And sure enough, right after this update, Naram's missing mother would finally be found. The worst
Don't tell
news,
me.
Emma Rosario Kolk was murdered. She had been missing since June 12. Her son killed her with stab wounds and then buried her in the backyard of his house. He was
Wow.
arrested. Rest in peace, Emma. Emma Kolk had been found dead, murdered, and buried in her own backyard.
You see how, like, I don't know what be going on in people's minds, man. What people go through, what their issues are. I mean, everybody has issues. There's not one person on this earth that doesn't have some type of issue going on. Rich people, billionaires, they all have issues. Believe it or not, more money means definitely more problems. Because somebody's always after you when you're stupid rich. So people think that having a lot of money means you're worry-free, you're out of your mind. But as far as like the people that is not so fortunate, the trauma or whatever they go through, we don't know. What drives people to kill their own parents is a mystery in itself. I mean, I don't know. But it's definitely fucked up because they could have been like bad parents and not help keep you alive. Because without your parents, you will not be alive. You know what I mean? So the fact that, you know, your own child can turn on you is crazy because I've seen videos and we all know we've seen some bad parents out here, some people that don't deserve to have children. Like earlier, like I said, the video we saw with the young boy walking up to the neighbor, the whole time the mother was torturing him. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. Now, I understand if the boy grows up to, you know, kill his mother. Now that's, you know, you fucked him up. You tortured him. Like, you know what I mean? So that's gonna be forever in his mind for the rest of his life. So if he decides to up and just, you know, murder you when he gets older, it's understandable. I mean, you put him through all that shit and it's never gonna leave his mind. So eventually he's gonna snap. I don't know their story, but I don't know what the situation was, but we'll never know. I'm pretty sure we won't know the information on why he did it. But it's just crazy, man. It's just crazy.
With the perpetrator allegedly being her own son, Daniel Kolk, who had confessed to stabbing her once in the chest and then twice in the head before burying
one
her
that
body
made
in the
the Reddit.
backyard, with a motive never being given. The ending to Emma's search was disturbing, but perhaps the most shocking part was the revelation that she was killed by her own son, 20-year-old Daniel Kolk, which immediately called into question Naram's Reddit post, as he had claimed to be Emma's son, leading many to wonder, was Naram the killer? And so, desperate for clarification, someone commented, "By any chance, are you 20 years old?" To which Naram actually responded, writing simply, 25, before eventually leaving the following explanation. Apparently, it was my brother. That's what the police said when they declared the crime. This would mean that when Naram had been making these pleas to find his mother, in reality, not only was she already dead, but she had been killed by his own brother and buried in their backyard. It's one of the most chilling things I've ever come across on Reddit, but the intrigue of this case doesn't exactly end here, as there was something about Naram's story that wasn't quite adding up. Just days before the disappearance of his mother, he had left a comment on an unrelated post saying, "When I was 8 years old, I wanted to ride a bicycle without hands, according to me because it was easy. I was on the street, dirt, and I let go of the handlebars, and here I am at 19 years old, with the handlebars marked on my abdomen." In his own words, Naram wasn't 25, but instead 19 years old, and potentially 20 years old by the time his mother was found, which put him at the exact age range as Daniel Kolk.
Yeah, that's him.
This prompted a wave of speculation and confusion and spawned the enduring mystery. Who exactly is Naram? While making things even stranger, digging deeper into his posting history, you can find another comment where he claims to have been working the same job for 6 years, which seemed to contradict the idea of him being 20, thus prompting even more confusion, which eventually caught Naram's attention, who responded by stating, "I didn't write that. It must have been my brother. I don't use this social network. I only used it twice for a work issue and now because my mother disappeared. This account is not mine." This recounting of events made Naram's initial story even more twisted, as if this was true, then not only was it his own brother that killed the mother he was looking for, but he was literally using that same brother's account. And again, this gets stranger. Around the same time, Naram would thank the internet for its help on the case, and then proceed to swiftly disappear, leaving the account untouched for over 2 years. But this silence would be broken in 2022 when they suddenly returned, with their posts being slightly unhinged, gloating about their internet status and bizarrely lashing out at random users who questioned him on his past and present motives. And in these ramblings, he would drop the bombshell that he wasn't actually Emma's son. He now claimed to be Daniel's best friend, writing that he allowed Daniel to make the post on his account to spread the news about his mother's disappearance, which he was completely unaware that Daniel himself had caused. This was the last real update in this case, and it only threw more fuel on the fire of this mystery, with people wondering what version of events, if any, were true. When I hear about this case today, many seem to believe that the entire time Naram was actually Daniel Kolk, and he had made this post to make it seem like he was searching for his mother, and perhaps to even use any given advice to help conceal what he did. As remember, many were offering suggestions on how to find her, which Daniel in turn could have used to essentially do the exact opposite, to help make sure that she was never found. This is tricky because the account posted briefly after Daniel was supposedly arrested. However, the status of this case is entirely unknown to this day, as there have been no updates as to whether or not Daniel was actually charged, with some choosing to believe that this was him the entire time, and perhaps he was even held in prison for a few years before being released, thus explaining his 2-year absence. Another theory is that Naram was initially telling the truth, and that he was Daniel's brother, and that he was simply using the account to spread word of his mother's disappearance, before eventually abandoning it. And perhaps
Is when it gets to that point, I don't even care anymore. It doesn't even matter. Because it's like, there's so many things on who it could be, who it might be, and it's just like, man, it doesn't even matter. We figured out the crime. It's done. You know what I'm saying? As far as whose it was,
perhaps the most recent posting on this account was because it may have been hacked, which would explain the massive tone shift. Or maybe it's the most recent version of events that's the right one, and that this is actually Daniel's best friend. But why initially lie? And how do you explain the apparent inconsistencies in his age that are found throughout his posts? This entire internet mystery is one of the messiest I've ever come across, and nothing seems to make any sense, with the most inexplicable part being the very real murder at its core. A mother who was killed by her own son for no apparent reason, and given the lack of updates, it's hard to know if justice was ever served.
third world country, never. Angeline Pete's final Facebook post.
It took several months for Angeline Pete's family to report her as missing. She had a long history of leaving home for extended periods of time, running off to join the circus and hitchhiking rides all across the Vancouver area, before eventually returning home to her normal life. But this time it felt different. None of her friends or family had heard from her since May of 2011, and it was now nearing the end of summer. This was especially odd considering that Angeline was known to be constantly texting, as well as updating her Facebook profile, with that profile now sitting completely dormant. But within that page filled with your typical selfies and normal life updates, there was one post that stood out, the final post she ever made. This photo was posted without context to be the very last time that the vast majority of Angeline's friends and family members had heard from her. And when looking into the context of this image, her disappearance only becomes more concerning. That night, Angeline had been drinking with her fiancé Robert Calden in downtown Vancouver, and while the two were waiting to catch a ferry back home, something had sparked an argument, which eventually led to a full-on physical altercation. This fight caused such a stir that eventually police would arrive on the scene, where they noted that Angeline's lip had been busted, leading to them placing Robert under arrest. Though in the end, no charges would ever be filed, as Angeline refused to give officers a statement and instead insisted on just going home, which led to the whole thing seemingly being dropped. It was directly after this that Angeline would post this photo to her Facebook account without any sort of context, before proceeding to disappear into thin air. Her motivation for doing this isn't 100% known, but one could assume that she was trying to make a record of this attack, perhaps in case something were to happen to her. The timing of this is more than a little suspicious, and paints a horrifying picture of the potential fate of Angeline. That she had been murdered by Robert Calden as a result of their fight on the 20th of May. It's a case that seems as straightforward as it is disturbing, but that's only on the surface, as there was another factor at play here, as when the police stopped this couple from fighting on that fateful night, Robert wasn't the only one facing jail time.
Ooh.
Angeline was no stranger to abuse. She had a long history of it herself, with her ex-boyfriend claiming to have suffered dozens of black eyes throughout their relationship, which had ended years prior. This violent behavior often stemmed from her trouble with alcohol, and Robert was clearly one and the same, with the two forming an extremely toxic relationship that often ended in one or both of them getting hurt. It was all too normal.
What kind of person are you when you're drunk? Are you a violent drunk? Are you a happy drunk? Like me? When I get drunk, I get very happy and very tired. But I don't understand why people would want to drink to get drunk and then just be mad at everything. Like, I've known a couple people like that. They get drunk and they just get pissed about everything. And it's like, being around that shit is like very insufferable and annoying, because it's like, what the hell is your problem? What are you dealing with, bro? What in your life is happening that makes you get fucking angry when you're drunk as hell? Because I don't understand why that happens. I get very peaceful. I would say I'm actually hilarious when I'm drunk. But I don't understand why people get so pissed off when they're drunk. Why drink then? Why the fuck are you drinking? Go smoke. Go smoke some weed. Do something. Smoke a cigarette. Don't drink. Because like I said, like everybody else says, weed is illegal, but it actually is medicine. Alcohol is legal, and that shit literally kills people. I don't understand it either. It's fucking ridiculous. I don't understand it either. But yeah, it is what it is.
Normalized for the pair, which was highlighted by one of Angeline's final texts, where she wrote, "Gee, my lip hurts. I hate him so much that I love him." Now, I do want to make it clear that this is in no way meant to come across as victim blaming, but this is vital information for this case, as Angeline's history with violence had landed her in prison numerous times, most recently in 2009 when she was arrested for getting into a massive bar fight. This arrest in particular is noteworthy, as it carried with it multiple conditions, one of which was that Angeline was given a 9 p.m. curfew, and the other was that she was not allowed to drink, with both of these conditions being broken on the night of May 20th, when police intervened in her and Robert's fight. This meant that Angeline was now likely going to be reincarcerated, and sure enough, that same night, officers arrived at her home to question her on the matter, but she failed to answer the door, which led to a warrant being made for her arrest 5 days later on May 25th. That day, a squad car pulled up to Angeline's apartment to bring her into custody, but when police entered the home, they would only find Robert, who just so happened to be on the phone with her. And officers claimed to have spoken with Angeline during that phone call, where they advised her to turn herself in, though she claimed that she was no longer in the area, and eventually hung up the phone. This would be the last time that officers would speak to Angeline Pete, and seemingly according to Robert, she returned home and left the very next day on the 26th, and never came back. This whole revelation muddies the water in this case, and provides us with our second theory, that Angeline Pete had run away to avoid reincarceration. But there's something unusual to me about this phone call with police. Now, there's hardly any information about this case online, but from all the articles that I've read, it seems that no one in Angeline's life had heard from her after this photo was taken, with the exception of Robert. And when police spoke with her, it was only over the phone. They too hadn't laid eyes on her since the night of May 20th, prompting some to wonder if Robert had arranged for some sort of decoy to make this phone call. Though, however it happened, since that phone call, there has been no activity on any of Angeline's online accounts, and she has never deposited or spent a single cent from her bank account. From that point on, she's been essentially invisible. That was 15 years ago, and today we still have no concrete answers as to what happened to Angeline Pete, with some taking this as a sign that something sinister had in fact happened to her, as how can you go that long without leaving a trail, and without at least trying to come back? Especially in Angeline's case, as she was a mother.
Shit.
Angeline had a 7-year-old son who was by far the most important thing in her life. At the time she went missing, this child was staying with her father, Angeline's former partner, but she still played an incredibly active role in his life, and she wanted to be as involved as she possibly could be. And yet, after 15 years, she's made no attempts to try and reach out to him. Again, people have taken this as a sign that Angeline has perhaps been killed. And it isn't just Robert who they think might have done this, as some believe that she may have been killed by someone that neither they nor Angeline even knew.
Right.
As I mentioned previously, Angeline had a habit of hitchhiking, and she was known to do so in a way that was overtly dangerous. And interestingly, there were some unconfirmed sightings of Angeline after she went missing, with some reportedly seeing her in Port Hardy and Grand Perrier, areas that she would have had to catch a ride to. Now again, these are totally unconfirmed sightings, but what's so chilling about this is that if she had been hitchhiking through those areas, then she likely would have found herself doing so along Highway 16, which is now known as the Highway of Tears. Without getting too deep into this stretch of road is notorious for its disproportionately high number of women who have gone missing on it, and especially Indigenous women, with Aboriginal organizations claiming that as many as 40 Indigenous women have been killed or kidnapped while on this stretch of road. And coincidentally, Angeline was an Indigenous woman herself, who may have found herself hitchhiking on that very road.
Yeah. Yeah.
Angeline's disappearance is one of those cases that you can convince yourself that every theory is right. But as of right now, there's just no way to know what truly happened to her. And while this is an internet mystery for us, for Angeline's family, this couldn't be more real. Many of them are suspicious about Robert and believe that police didn't do a good enough job investigating him, as he was never even considered a suspect. But they also hold on hope that Angeline is still alive and out there somewhere, and they'll often hold events and vigils to keep her name in the spotlight, and to assure she knows that she can always come back home. And it's this hope that has fueled her son since she disappeared, as all throughout his childhood he played hockey as a way of helping to find her, with one family member saying, "That's why he wants to play hockey. So if he gets famous, his mom will find him."
Yeah, yeah. She's missing too. Man. Another good video. Yeah, those stories are like very sad to hear, man. When you know, just tragedy, and it sucks. It sucks. But it definitely makes you appreciate the things that you do have. You don't want to take anything for granted. You know, the missing people, the people that got killed, you know, it's very unfortunate. I hate to see stories like that, but I, you know, find it very intriguing. I like life. I like real life things that actually happened. And then, you know, of course, the reality sinks in. It's like, damn, this shit really happened. It's sad to think of, but you know, things like that happen on, you know, every day. Unfortunately, you can't do nothing but just like hope it doesn't happen to you. You know, be on your P's and Q's, you know, to prevent all that stuff, and stay vigilant. Don't be naive. Don't think that can ever happen to you. I'm pretty sure these people didn't think that that would happen to them, but it did. I mean, good video. Nick Crowley is definitely, I definitely I enjoy watching his videos for sure. W video, Nick, W video.